we talk about doing a coffee cup versus a coffee boat. Now, in my medical years, when I was going through medical school, I became a coffee boat drinker. My cup,
You're a coffee snob.
not only
true.
that, but I drank a lot of coffee all day long. And that is where the problems lie with
Yeah, and really metabolism by definition is the speed and ability with which your body uses micronutrients as fuel, or maybe the speed at which you're burning through or using these things. And so that can change with age, no question, but it also changes with inactivity. It changes with your metabolic status.
Let's talk about a new system. Well, they're bringing it on us, right? They've 90% of all the central banks globally, they're going to come in with messaging like this is the amazing white knight on a shiny horse coming in to save the day, right? Well, no.
Hot subject today is coffee good or bad? Should I drink it? Should I not? Let's talk about coffee.
Hot. So some people like it cold. I don't know, man. Cold coffee.
Cold brew.
But honestly, coffee is a big subject. It's very cultural today. I was thinking about this recently about how many people stress out and freak out when a lot of people want to do detox plans, and sometimes the persons that guide those detox plans will say, hold on the coffee, and they're like, oh, I can't, I gotta have my coffee every day. If I don't have coffee, I'm going to chew people's heads
I'm
off,
gonna die. Yeah. Well, and we have allowed 1 cup of coffee every day during the detox to avoid a withdrawal headache. And it is not 1 cup that actually does the long-term damage. We talk about doing a coffee cup versus a coffee boat. Now, in my medical years, when I was going through medical school, I became a coffee boat drinker. My cup,
You're a coffee snob.
not only
true.
that, but I drank a lot of coffee all day long. And that is where the problems lie with interrupting sleep, tearing down the digestive tract, anxiety, hyperstimulation, breaking down the intestinal lining. You can joint aches and pains because you're leaching your minerals. A lot of things can happen when you do too much.
Well, and the other side of the coin is coffee is very beneficial too. I mean, there's a lot of studies out there that sort of indicate that up to 400 milligrams a day is associated with less death of these common diseases, such as heart disease. So I think it really depends on the individual person. Is coffee the drink of choice? Where they're at in their health pattern? What type of coffee they drink in? I was reading some studies recently that 50% of coffee today or more has mold in it, right? That's a bad deal. And we're seeing more mold appear in people's lives
Mycotoxins.
today. So yeah, mold and mycotoxins. So today it's fascinating, coffee is so cultural. I had a lady just recently that tried to do a detox with us and couldn't. And I was talking to her just yesterday. This is the truth. I asked her point blank, what was the most difficult thing you had that you dealt with that stopped you from achieving the ability to finish this thing? And I went through it. Was it bread? Was it sugars? And I asked, was it coffee? Boom, boom. That's the 3 questions I asked. And she said it was coffee. And so what I said to her, and she said, I do it again? I said, yes. But this time I don't want you to give up coffee. I don't want you to. I want you to give up the grains and the sugars, but not the coffee. And she goes, well, I can't believe this. And she was excited about it. I said, can you do that? She goes, yes, I can do that. So it flipped the switch in her. But again, then I was able to educate her on the types of coffees and just like we're talking about right now, how much is bad, how much can be beneficial.
Well, I'll never forget the day that I ran my genetics and I found out the fact that I'm a slow metabolizer of caffeine. And if you want to have your genetics run, you can click the link on our website and you can come to understand these things about yourself. Well, I was sure that I had to give up coffee because it was going to actually damage my health. Well, what I did is I researched how much was actually the high end and what's the low end and where should I actually reside. Somewhere between 100 to 300 milligrams is kind of the threshold. And in a regular cup measuring cup of coffee, there's about 100 milligrams of caffeine. Now, we went to bat to develop the best kind of coffee. We call it Kingdom Cup. It's on our website. It's fully readily available. It is a Colombian roast, low acid, mold free, organic coffee. And it is the only coffee that I can actually drink black without any sweetener, without any creamer. I don't get gastric upset. It doesn't overdo my threshold where I can't sleep at night. So I can actually have 100 to 300 milligrams, which is up to 3 cups of coffee, with no long-term detrimental effects.
People need to know about coffee. Now, that's in a bean form. People need to know that Kingdom Cup with a K is in a bean form because
that makes it fresh because
Yeah.
it's fresh ground.
when you ground it up and put it in the powder form, you're able to get it fresh and actually brew it right then. The thing about powders, when you purchase them like that, they can gather moisture. Common sense, right? The moisture can create the readily a development of this mold and mycotoxins that come from mold. And so this is why we did the bean form, and it just cost a few bucks to get a little grinder. It just takes a couple minutes. And so I think people should use that, and I think they should use coffee to benefit. Coffee can provide ergogenic aids. In other words, can kind of generate fat, but fat burning. Who doesn't want that?
I know that I do. It's also got its own array of antioxidants
It
in
does.
it, which are good for brain health.
Yeah, coffee has so many benefits. You can get on like PubMed. We did a presentation on this recently at a night of empowerment, and one of our sort of chosen of the 3 biohacks was coffee. And this is why, because you look at all the data out there that is associated with the benefits of coffee. I think as a stimulatory one part of that, you might want to be more active to do more as opposed to being sedentary. Fat burning and antioxidant capacity, brain stimulation, to be able to think more quickly. It's good, and it got you through medical school, so it wasn't all bad because you got the top of your class.
Well, but I also had to learn that as time went on, the coffee boat had to go back to a coffee cup because genetically, I couldn't tolerate that high of a level. I didn't want to give it up. I wanted to know where that threshold was. So running the genetics, understanding the metabolism of caffeine and how that works, and then knowing where to stop.
That's true. And when you think about this, I'm a fast metabolizer, by the way, which means I could have a cup of good coffee at 9 o'clock at night and be asleep at 10, no problem. But
Not
it's
I.
also good to know how you do that metabolism wise. So I recommend the genetics as well. But coffee can be beneficial. We don't recommend you give it up unless it's something that has become your drink of choice. And then we require a modification of that. So find the right coffee for the right purposes, and then you can find some great benefits in that for you.
Change your engine of metabolism from sugar burning to fat burning.
Coming up next.
And when you navigate through these economies with people, here's what happens. We want to hold their hand through it, let them know when it's time to buy, sell, reallocate, get out of Dodge. Because a lot of times when you're struck with fear does 2 things. Number 1, it can paralyze, and people just put their head in the sand and say, I'm just going to forget about it and hopefully it gets better. Or it causes you to make a wrong decision. And this is why we are here, is to help people navigate through the political quagmire nonsense that's going on, the economic malaise, and the absolute collapse that we're seeing. And when our freedoms are eroding, our political freedoms, our economic freedoms, our personal freedoms, our religious freedoms, our health freedoms, they're all tied together. But you know what doesn't need to erode with that? Our finances.
KirkElliottPhD.com/Sherwood.
Let's shine the spotlight on one of our star supplements.
The human body can make most of the types of fats it needs from other fats or raw materials, but not omega-3 fatty acids, also called omega-3 fats or N3 fats.
These are essential fats that the body must get from food.
Biomega 1000 provides a potent dose of omega-3 essential fatty acids sourced from a strategically placed fishing facility in the far South Pacific Ocean off the coast of Chile.
Each capsule delivers an impressive 1,000 milligrams of EPA and DHA, and the capsules also contain vitamin E. See the link below for a special offer, and remember, don't be fooled by cheap online knockoffs.
The body's amazing at recovery, so you want to give it every chance, no matter what time it is. So in that context, no, it's certainly never too late. You're never too old to start trying to be healthy.
No matter where you are in terms of your health, that you can turn this around.
It's never too late to start a wellness program, and it's never too late to reach your healthcare goals. There's an old adage, and I'm not sure where it came from, but I really do like it. And they say the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is today.
We just want people to hang on to hope.
We are hope dealers. And if you are not paying attention to the 4 foundational pillars of health, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual, eventually it is going to catch up.
If we get all those 4 areas right, and we do it right, we see a dynamic occur in the middle called wellness, and that's where people get better. Their health is really going to return as a side effect of wellness.
Exploring biohacking, bioharmonizing, biosynergizing, stacking, resilience, or anti-fragility?
Start here. No gimmicks, just proven results.
Metabolism is a tricky thing. And when we're talking about kickstarting our body into fat burning, we have to really learn how to play chess with our chemistry. So if you want to know how to get your body to burn fat, let's talk about these simple tips.
Yeah, it's really interesting. A lot of people get confused about metabolism. And really, metabolism, by definition, is the speed and ability with which your body uses micronutrients as fuel, or maybe the speed at which you're burning through or using these things. And so that can change with age, no question, but it also changes with inactivity. It changes with your metabolic status as far as how much fat and muscle you have in your frame. More muscle equates to a higher metabolism as opposed to less muscle. And higher body fat is slower metabolism as opposed to lower body fat. A lot of things that we can do, and there's a lot of supplements out there we can take as well that sort of speed it up. And I think it requires a comprehensive approach to do all of that.
Well, one of the things that really has to change is the intake of sugar.
Yeah.
It's called the vicious cookie cycle. When you take in a carbohydrate load that stimulates the production of this hormone called insulin, insulin rises really, really rapidly to take sugar down because sugar is toxic when it gets to a certain level in the bloodstream. So your body's going to normalize that sugar level with insulin. The problem is that insulin is a long-acting hormone. It hangs around. It stays around. So it's going to pull blood sugar down, and before you know it, your blood sugar is going to plummet, and you're going to find yourself back in the kitchen looking for something to eat. So again, you're on that vicious cookie cycle by the amount and type of carbohydrate that you eat on a regular basis. So by pulling back that carbohydrate load and paying attention to the glycemic index of the carbohydrates that you eat, you're going to produce less insulin. That's the main thing we want to do, is we want to put that hormone insulin to sleep. And when that happens, the body moves into a fat burning mode, because if you got a little spread around the middle, for every extra pound, that's 3,500 extra calories. So if we can switch the engine into a fat burning mode by putting insulin to sleep, we've got a lot of calories that we can actually burn.
And you can change this. You know, we've actually seen, based upon measurements we've done in the office through our in-body analyses, we've seen the basal metabolic rate improve, which is an estimate, I get it, but it's an estimate of the amount of calories you're utilizing in a 24-hour period at rest. And we've seen that actually go up even as people get in better condition. So you can really improve the metabolic pace and aging of a person, if you will. And I think that this is something we really need to focus on a lot more these days.
So if you take that basal metabolic rate, of course, we've got to proportion our macros into that. And a lot of times that proportion ends up a little carbohydrate heavy. So we'll take the number of carbohydrates a person is eating and we'll proportion that more towards protein. Now, too much protein, people don't know this, but too much protein can turn into sugar too. So if you're a sedentary person and you're not moving much, you can't just eat bowls and bowls and dishes of protein, because you're going to have the same caloric overload. You're going to elevate sugar, and then you're going to produce insulin also. But changing that carbohydrate load from carbohydrate to more protein can also start to suppress the insulin production.
It can, and there's really kind of three hormones we want to kind of deal with, really: cortisol, insulin, and leptin. Those are three hormones that really affect this metabolic engine, if you will. And thankfully, you know, we've done a lot of work on providing supplementation that can sort of help with those things, because if you can sort of get a balance there and help with what you said, the nutritional and lifestyle, exercise, sleep adjustments, and then add the right supplementation on there, you can actually get a good change in a relatively short amount of time.
Well, and you said cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. And when you're running, fighting, or fleeing from a lion, tiger, or bear, or a stressful life situation, your body doesn't know the difference. It's going to produce this stress hormone, cortisol.
Yeah.
And then, of course, your body is going to produce sugar, glucose, because it needs fuel for you to run. And when you're under chronic stress all the time, you could be not eating at all, but if your cortisol levels are high, your sugar levels will be high. Therefore, you're producing insulin.
Yeah.
And what type of hormone is insulin? It is not only a blood sugar balancing hormone, it is a fat storing hormone. So you can't burn fat and store fat at the same time. So we've got to control our stress. We've got to control the glycemic load and index of the carbohydrates that we consume. Of course, we've got to exercise and move the calories that we take in off the frame. And we got to get enough rest to balance the system.
It is. And just, you know, what I've used before to manage that is I've used EndoTrim and Thermo EFX. Those are two little supplement that you can use in combo. Pretty cool. Leptin, people forget about that when cortisol is driving the blood sugar is driving the insulin is driving fat storage is driving leptin, and the body becomes leptin resistant, and therefore the thyroid function goes down and we start to gain more fat. Metabolism just crumbles.
So go back to that leptin. Leptin is made by the fat cells, and the more fat we have, the larger the fat cells become,
right.
The more leptin is produced. It's just like insulin resistance. If you get excessive amount of leptin production, that leptin satiation signal to the brain then becomes resistant.
That's right.
And then tie in the relationship with the thyroid.
Yeah. As all these things go up, thyroid begins to hypofunction. We begin to gain more weight. And there you have the metabolic collapse of the body. It is important that we get into a fat utilizing or fat burning mode all the time. And really using some of this information we've given you and even the right supplements and lifestyle adjustments, you can effectively do that and put yourself in a fat gain prevention mode. Now, how does that sound? Pretty good, huh? Up next, our financial guru, Kirk Elliott, gives us advice on what you need to know at this time in history.
Let's get real. Most emergency food is just as bad for you as any other choice in the standard American diet. And that's just sad.
We don't just need food. We need highly nutritional food.
We don't just want to survive food shortages. We are meant to thrive in adversity.
Complete your daily nutrition and have shelf-stable Kingdom Fuel as a cornerstone of your food supply.
Don't sacrifice your health or your taste buds.
Stock up on Kingdom Fuel now.
Hello, I'm Kevin Sorbo. Now, there's an old saying, it's not what you know, but who you know that matters. Now, that's true in our careers, spiritual life, and when it comes to our health and overall well-being. Today, most of us know a lot of information about health and nutrition, but are we really doing anything with it? So here's what I've learned from working with Doctors Michele and Mark Sherwood. They're the founders of the Functional Medical Institute. You need a wellness plan that's customized based on your unique needs. Now remember, real change can only happen when you address the whole person. That is exactly what Mark and Michele do, and why they are people you should know. They'll help you discover what you need to experience transformation. Find out at Sherwood.tv/Sorbo. That's Sherwood.tv/Sorbo, or just see the link below. Have a great day and God bless.
I could use your assistance.
Okay,
Jesus.
Huh?
My name is Jesus.
Sure. Jesus.
Jesus is here today.
You looking for a job?
Yes, sir.
You and Mark have 45 days before the bank forecloses.
Not to worry. They do not call me by God Byron for nothing. The collection plate starts to be passed around. Mark reaches into the basket and shouts, "You and your family are the winner from the first church of the lotto." Kind of think of it like a high-stakes bingo night every Sunday.
Poopy diaper!
Poopy diaper!
This video of the diaper is going viral right before our eyes.
This is a miracle.
What is?
Friends of Faith has over 300,000 followers.
Oh my dad! That's more followers than Moses had.
Jesus! Take the wheel! No,
Stop
take the wheel!
I got it, buddy.
Hey, Mark, it's great to be with you again. And we've all been talking about the globalists and their plans for a big global reset and what that means for a long time now. Well, starting on January 16th, for 1 week, they were all meeting the G7, the G20, the IMF, the World Economic Forum. All the big globalist policy leaders globally were meeting in Davos, Switzerland, like they do every single year. They had this confab, right? So what were they talking about, right? Well, before they even met, their notes came out, the outline. This is what we're going to talk about to all you people that are here, right? All the globalists, and we've got Republicans and Democrats and politicians there. They're all meeting. And what are they talking about? What did they talk about, right? So according to the World Economic Forum website, these are the topics. And again, like I've said before, words have meaning, right? So let's listen to these words. They're bullet points. They're going to address the current energy and food crisis in the context of a new system for energy, climate, and nature. They're going to address the current high inflation, low growth, high debt economy in the context of a new system for investment, trade, and infrastructure. Address the current industry headwinds in the context of a new system for harnessing frontier technologies for private sector innovation and resilience. They're going to address the current social vulnerabilities in the context of a new system for work, skills, and care. And they're going to address the current geopolitical risk in the context of a new system for dialogue and cooperation in a multipolar world. It's like, what's all this talk about a new system? Well, they're bringing it on us, right? 90% of all the central banks globally are now starting to issue central or going down the path of a central bank digital currency. Now, they're going to come in with messaging like this is the amazing white knight on a shiny horse coming in to save the day, right? Well, no, this is not what it's about. All that a central bank digital currency is cryptocurrency. It's a digital version of the paper money that they already print. However, so they can print just as many dollars as they want, right? Or as many yen or as many euro as they want. They can issue as many digital version of that currency as well, because there's no tangible backing behind it. So it's going to do nothing to address the inflationary pressures. But here's the deal, Mark. For, the old saying, never let a good crisis go to waste. Okay. Nobody would want a system where your digital social profile, what you spend money on, what your religion is, who you donate to, what church you give to, what political party you give to, how you spend your money, have you been vaxxed or not vaxxed, right? All of this is part of our digital social profile. And if they don't like it, because it's programmable money, they have the authority to shut off your ability to buy or sell. This is what a digital social profile attached to a central bank digital currency does. So when they're talking about a new system, this is the system they're talking about. How do I know that it's not some other system? Because further on in their notes, they talk about how this is going to be a new normal, how they have to talk about a global coalition for digital safety, because there's big efforts that we need to tackle here. They need to talk about applying human rights to the digital world. Why? Because they know that their system is going to strip away our privacy, our freedom, and our rights. And so they need to talk about how are we going to tackle this when we're going to have a ton of opposition from stripping people of their freedom and their privacy completely. So this is what's going on politically. And all of our investments, Mark, are a combination of some puzzle pieces. The political puzzle piece, the economic puzzle piece, the social puzzle piece, right? They all get put together. And this is what I do and what we do at our firm is put those puzzle pieces together and strategically put together a system to get out of the path of this hurricane and safely reallocate to get out of the system where you're not just a digital number, where your programmable money can shut you off from buying or selling, right? So how do you do that? With tangible assets like gold and silver that not only have we talked about in the past how they're great investments, I mean, they're booming, but they're also in this respect, also instrumental in protecting your religious freedom, your personal freedom, your political freedom, your economic freedom, your health freedom, because it's private. They're private transactions. So call our office. You know, Mark, you and I talk a lot about this, and every one of the viewers should give us a call because we can strategically map out. It's a free consultation, your strategy for success so you can thrive. And all you have to do is go to kirkelliottphd.com/Sherwood, or you can just give our office a call, 720-605-3900, and say, Dr. Mark sent you. And when you navigate through these economies with people, here's what happens. We want to hold their hand through it, let them know when it's time to buy, sell, reallocate, get out of Dodge. Because a lot of times when you're struck with fear does two things. Number one, it can paralyze, and people just put their head in the sand and say, I'm just going to forget about it and hopefully it gets better. Or it causes you to make a wrong decision. And this is why we are here, is to help people navigate through the political quagmire nonsense that's going on, the economic malaise, and the absolute collapse that we're seeing. And when our freedoms are eroding, our political freedoms, our economic freedoms, our personal freedoms, our religious freedoms, our health freedoms, they're all tied together. But you know what doesn't need to erode with that? Our finances.
KirkElliottPhD.com/Sherwood.